Well, for more on this, let's bring in Hans von Spakovsky, Senior Legal Fellow at the Heritage Foundation and a former Justice Department official. So, Hans, as someone who's been inside the DOJ at the top levels of the Justice Department, would you rely in a prosecution on this type of tape?
Well, I think it brings up a lot of questions that would arise in a hearing over the credibility of the witness. For a lawyer to record secretly his discussions, his confidential discussions with his client, that violates the professional code of conduct. And to then disclose those tapes to the world, as Giuliani said, that's an offense for which you are disbarred. And I think a lot of people would raise a lot of questions about what that says about the lawyer and whether he can be believed.
But in terms of the tape itself, what do you think? I mean, prosecutors use tapes all the time. I mean, Rudy Giuliani, I covered prosecuting back in the 1980s as the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District. They would play tapes, wiretaps, and other tapes in public corruption trials and mafia trials.
Yeah, but those are all tapes that were legitimately obtained, usually through a search warrant, so they were authorized by a federal judge. Here, I mean, let's go back to what we've heard so far. I haven't heard anything in any of those tapes that's some kind of violation of the law. So I'm not really sure why these tapes are at all relevant to what the special counsel, Bob Mueller, is looking at, which has to do with Russian collusion, not whether there was some kind of payoff to some woman over an alleged affair, which, by the way, if this woman demanded a payment in exchange for keeping quiet about it, may be a violation of the federal extortion statute.
Well, I mean, that could be what the Southern District is looking at, and apparently is, in terms of any possible financial improprieties by Mr. Cohen.
Well, yeah, but the impropriety isn't by Mr. Cohen. The impropriety is by this woman if she was demanding payment in order not to disclose this. Like I said, that in itself may be a violation of the federal extortion statute, not the other side of it.
Well, the Cohen stuff reportedly has to do with his business. But back to the tape. Let's play that one section in which there is a dispute about whether or not the then candidate, now President Trump, said the word cash. He clearly says the word cash. Before that is unintelligible. Does he say don't use cash? Does he say use cash? Let's take a listen and analyze.
When it comes time for the financing, which will be...
Listen, what financing?
We'll have to pay you. So
Don't pay the cash.
No. No.
Well, it sounds like he says pay cash, and Cohen say no. I mean, what type of light does that show?
Well, again, I don't really see what the relevance is. If, for example, you are legitimately paying someone for their story, something that Hollywood does all the time, whether you pay them in cash or a credit card or a check, there's no illegality there. I mean, I really don't see why people are thinking that that's some kind of a problem.
And Giuliani now saying the tapes, his view, he says that they're doctored. What do you think about that? Apparently, one news organization consulted a objective audio expert who says that this person says that there was a butt edit. That's where you take two parts of a tape and put it together. We don't know if that's correct and that's what's happened and if that is true. But what's your observation on that? If indeed, is there any possibility that this was edited in any way, or is that just Giuliani trying to make up an excuse?
Well, the only way we're going to know that is if we can get a hold of the original recording and have an expert look at it. That's always a possibility, but I think to do that, you need a forensic analyst, and you're going to need the original tape.
And Mr. Cohen has been saying, of course, this past week that the president did know about that meeting. Maybe there are some tapes about that. But that prompted Lindsey Graham to say this to Maria Bartiromo on Sunday Morning Futures this morning, pointing out that Cohen in the past has said that the president did not know previously about that meeting with Don Jr. and the Russian lawyer and others. Here's what the senator had to say.
When it comes to Michael Cohen, you should be very suspicious of anything he says. He's on the hot seat. He's looking at going to jail, so people like him are subject to making things up. And I can tell you this, I talked to Richard Burr yesterday. Michael Cohen has already appeared before Congress talking about a lot of things. And this idea that he told Trump about the Russian meeting before it happened is, to us, very much new news.
So new news, meaning, you can deduce that Cohen told the panel that he did not know about the meeting. So if he's called in and asked, does he commit perjury potentially, or what happens?